I want to come back and talk to you about the international issues, which I know that you're a great expert in. But we're just seeing these early polls, and they are early polls. Of course, we have to say that. But Georgia, I think it has Kamala Harris on 49 and Trump on 46. So it's just a poll. North Carolina, we have 43 for Trump, 48 for Harris, and Pennsylvania. We're thinking at the moment, just from the poll, 47 for Trump and 46 for Harris. What do you make of these early exit polls?
I think, first of all, we have to take the polls with basically we wonder about some of them, because these polls seem to be shifting on a regular basis. Although they agreed on one thing, and that it makes sense to me, that the positions of the public, or the differences between Harris and Trump, and in terms of the support they have, is very, very small. They are very close to each other. The differences, some places, they are just about 1%, 1.5%, 0.4%, 0.5%. Harris was moving ahead in a number of 3 states. But the differences were very, very small. And so while Trump was leading in the 4 of the other swing states, and what we have seen is that the differences were very minor. Now, that raises a lot of questions. Do these polls reflect the real views of the American public? Because some of the pollsters have been saying that sometimes when they talk to some of the people, they try to find out where they stand on who they support on the issues. Sometimes for example, some people tell them we are going to vote for Harris, but in reality, they are going to vote for Trump, or vice versa. So they are not telling them. There is a segment of the population that does not tell them what they really think. The second thing is that there is a certain percentage of the people who are undecided, uncommitted to either the Republicans or the Democrats. These people also might change their mind at the last moment. For example, if we go back to the statement by one of the comedians who was supporting former President Trump in New York, they were speaking in a rally, Republican rally, and he described Puerto Rico, he just called it garbage. That infuriated a certain percentage of the Latino voters, although not all Latinos, because the Latinos there are divided. For example, you have people who come from Cuba, people who come from Venezuela as refugees to the United States, are very conservative, very supportive of the Republicans, while others might be much more liberal. But in a way, this was balanced by President Biden's statement saying that Trump supporters are also garbage, and that infuriated a certain segment of the other party's supporters. So sometimes you don't get an accurate assessment, a real assessment of where the public stands. And we have to, unless, and this is where one pollster was talking about today. He said there might be a sleeping giant and this is a certain percentage of those undecided voters who may decide at the last minute to support one candidate over the other. He said they could go for Trump or they could go for Harris. And we've seen some of these shifts, for example, in Michigan. In Michigan, you had, for example, most people thought that Michigan will go clearly to the Democrats. And since especially even Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, the last time they voted 2-1 in favor of the Democrats. But because of the situation in Gaza, we began to see some change. Nevertheless, the Arab American community and the Muslim American community did not favor in the beginning President Trump or former President Trump. But what we have seen recently is that in fact, when President Trump realized that he needs Michigan, he needs the support of this community. So he began to make gestures. He began to tell them, I am the one who's going to bring peace, while Vice President Harris is the one who's supported by Liz Cheney, whose father launched the war against Iraq and killed many Muslims. We think the Arabs and the Muslims are a great people. So he began to gain. He rose actually in support 16%. There was one poll said 18% of the Arab Americans and Muslim Americans favored Trump, while 12% favored Harris. But a certain percentage, and it's not clear where it stands, is the percentage that was going to support Jill Stein, who's not likely to win. He has no chance of winning, but she represents the Green Party, and she has gained a lot of support among Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, and young Americans because they were critical of the policies pursued by both the Republicans and the Democrats on Gaza and now on Lebanon.